Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Sylvia and I make videos on planning with the occasional review. Today's video is going to be a comparison between the Hobonichi weeks on the left and the Kinbor weeks on the right. Okay, so I know that my ring light is angry. It's wintertime here in Colorado, but we'll only have to deal with it for like a minute or so, and then we'll go on the inside and it will disappear. So again, the Hobonichi weeks is on the left and the Kinbor, I'm calling it the Kinbor weeks, is on the right. So the outside of these guys, I've talked a little bit about that when I did an unbagging, it wasn't really in a box, of the Kinbor, so definitely check that out. But currently, right now, I have the Hobonichi weeks dressed in a Hobonichi cover on cover, and the Kinbor in a, I'm not sure if this has an actual brand. Oh, it's the Never brand, excuse me. Yes, it does. Cover, which I will link that down below. I have talked about these a little bit, but I'll do it again for the sake of this video. So the Hobonichi weeks clear cover is a lot thicker and a better quality. I highly recommend it. However, if you're buying a Kinbor that has a hardcover, which this one is, it doesn't slip into the Hobonichi weeks cover on cover, unfortunately. So that's why I went with this off-brand called Never. So I will link that down below. This is not the best quality. It's very, very like thin plastic even. I don't know. Probably can't really tell right now. But even if you're looking at them side to side, this is just a thicker, firmer plastic. You can just feel it, and this is just like, look at it, nothingness. So there's that. Both of these planners do come with soft covers or hard covers, and those are just going to vary depending on the different editions. So this one is the Galaxy Exploration Edition, and you can see here that it has the gilded pages in this dark gray, which is really pretty, and it reads Kinbor 2030 on the side rather, and I don't know, I just think it's a really nice touch. You can see my Hobonichi weeks. It doesn't look as cool because it doesn't have gilded pages, but I don't know, maybe Hobonichi in the past has some gilded pages. It's not that serious. I just think it's a really nice touch, and the other two Kinbors that I purchased did not have this. For the sake of this video, I will be using my Galaxy Exploration Edition because I've already gifted the other two Kinbors to my nieces, so I don't have those anymore. The side-by-side comparison of these two is pretty on point. It's basically millimeters difference in height and in the width. So I will leave the dimensions for these either on the screen or down below, but they are very similar. Someone mentioned in my last video of the unbagging of this that they purchased the vertical weeks. This is the Hobonichi style, which is the horizontal weeks, and that was actually not Hobonichi weeks size, and I thought it was going to be. I did see that planner and I didn't realize that it actually is the regular traveler's notebook size, which is quite a bit taller. I didn't know that, so be aware and make sure that you're reading things. Sometimes it's hard on AliExpress because they don't put all the information down in the description, but be aware that if you find the vertical version of this, it might possibly be, and I haven't gone back to look, taller in regular TN size instead of Hobonichi weeks size. Okay, so I think that we can go ahead and move on in to the inside. Now, I did get a notebook from Kinbor, and it's just the notebook pages in the back, and there's no actual planner in it. And the inside has this really nice, kind of like the Hobonichi week style cardstock, where it says Kinbor on the inside, and it feels almost kind of like a rubbery kind of pleather feel to it. It's really nice. This one, however, is not. It's a very cheap, thin paper. I would call it paper. I wouldn't even call it cardstock. It's a weird kind of fly leaf that I don't really love. It's cool because it's silver and it says loading, but this is a better quality in the Hobonichi. I like how it says Hobo on it, and it's a thicker cardstock. So there's that one to the Hobonichi if you're keeping count. Let me get a little better centered here. That looks a little nicer. So you have this kind of awkward page where they kind of hide the binding. So it's glued partly down here. This just says 2022 Weekly. And then this one says Hobonichi Techo 2022. Then we move into the year at a glance, and I have to say that I really like the Kinbor the best. And part of this, of course, comparison is going to be preference. Like, you might find some of these things that I like not to be your cup of tea, and you might like the Hobonichi better. It is what it is. But the reason why I like this one is because it's actually in numerical order. So you have 2021, then 2022, then 2023. In the Hobonichi, you have the year you're actually on, and then it goes backwards to 2021 and then 2023. It's not that serious. I just kind of like that it's in order. You also let me know down below. So both of these will give you 3 years on the yearly. Then we move into this, and I already started writing in here, so I just covered that up. And this is sort of another, I don't know what you call this, like, it's also kind of a year at a glance. I also think about this as the, what would you call it in a bullet journal? I guess I would just say the future log. It's kind of set up in that way. Some people here in the beginning of their notebooks or in their bullet journals have perpetual calendars or a calendex. I really like the one in the Kinbor because it gives you 2 months to a page or 4 months to a spread, whereas you have the entire year in these tiny little boxes to a whole spread. And so I'm not really filling this because I have large handwriting. If you were going to just keep like deposits and withdrawals, that would be great here, maybe your weight. But if you wanted a little more space for forward planning or just to use this as a separate section for something else, then the Kinbor really does it nicely. So you have 1, 2, 3 spreads as opposed to just one. And then it goes right into the months. The Hobonichi goes straight into the months after this spread as well. However, in the Hobonichi, you do get a month before the new year. So this can start in December. This one starts January of the year 2022. So if you wanted to get into this a little bit earlier, Hobonichi allows you to do that. Kinbor doesn't. However, I know a lot of people that want to get into their planners early. They just use these blank pages and draw it out in the back. As far as the monthly is concerned, I really like how the Kinbor has this really big square letting you know that it's January, whereas it's very small over here. And some people like that because a lot of people like to put big stickers that say the month that they're actually in or what have you. I kind of just like this because it means you don't really have to decorate anything. You can see it really well. Unfortunately, I would say that the font goes to the Hobonichi Weeks for me just because it's darker. And you can see it, it's still tiny, but over here it's so incredibly subtle that it almost becomes somewhat of a problem. I feel like if you have some issues kind of seeing, it's really faint and you can just kind of see the difference there. I don't know, that is going to take some getting used to. I think it'll be okay for me, but just be aware for those of you who have vision issues that this might not be too friendly for you. As far as the little square is concerned, they're the same across, but you get one more extra line here. So that allows it to bring it down here to the bottom so you don't get as much space as you do here. Let's put it up like that. Maybe that'll be a little bit more helpful. You can see that you don't have as many lines here to the end of the page, whereas you get more space down here. I tend not to utilize it as much. I know some people like to put trackers down here, so that's also something to be aware of. I know that people use trackers long ways this way, so that might be something you can substitute if there's not enough space here. As you can see, for the month of January, the last day of the month comes all the way to the end. So I don't know if there would be 31 days here or not, but be aware of that. As always, you will find that a lot of these Asian planners will have Sunday in red and Saturday in gray and holidays also in red. Now I say Asian planners because I believe that the Kinbor is Chinese, whereas the Hobonichi Weeks is Japanese. Let me know down below, but I will show you something in the back that I feel like confirms it for me. But if you know, let us know down below. Also on the monthly, you'll find it's true as well as on the weekly. You have like moon phases here. You don't have that, not on the monthly or the weekly of the Kinbor. So that might be something that you actually like that they won't provide. There are a lot of printables that you can print out and, you know, go ahead and paste in the back here. But in case you were interested, that's not something that comes in the Kinbor planner. For those of you that are used to the Hobonichi Weeks, you know that not only do you get 1 month before the new year, you get 3 months after for forward planning. So here is January of 2023, and then February, and then all the way to March. Whereas in the Kinbor, they only give you the actual calendar year. So it only goes until December 2022. After the monthlies in the Hobonichi Weeks, it goes directly into the weekly layout, whereas in the Kinbor, you get this really awesome page they're calling the yearly plan. You could go ahead and put a vision board here. You could plan out some things and break them down by month, which I think is really great. I love this. I wish the Hobonichi Weeks had something dividing the months and the weeks, but they don't. Maybe that's something they'll do in the future. I don't know. Then you have another page here that says plan of a new year. And so this is just blank where you can put whatever you wanted here, some goals for the entire year. And then it goes into the weekly. The Hobonichi Weeks allows you to start in the month of December. It gives you a couple of days of November because that's how the week falls. Here's December 1st. Whereas in the Kinbor, it's only meant for the actual calendar year. So here we have January 1st of the new year, and they'll give you part of December just because of how the week falls here. So you actually get to start in here 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks before the Kinbor. Okay, I have flipped to a week in the future so we can see the same one since I've written and have actually used my Hobonichi thus far. So here we are on week 9 of the year, and it's very interesting because here we have February. It doesn't have February written on it, and I kind of wish it did. I don't know if it does over here in Chinese, but it doesn't. We have the 28th, and these are both a Monday start, so if I didn't mention that. We have these fractions that kind of allow you to know that this is where the new month, which is March, starts. So this is March 1st. So that's the same. You can see here again, you don't have the phases of the moon. So if that's something you liked, you don't get that in the Kinbor. You have gray for Saturday and then red for Sunday. It's subtle in the Hobonichi Weeks. They don't like shade in the actual box. The other thing is that this is week 9 up here. This says week 10. So I'm not sure what that means. Am I on the right week? Let's see what their week. So here is week 9, which is the 21st through the 27th. I mean, maybe if we weren't, dealing with COVID right now, I might have a clearer mind to understand why that's different. I don't. Is that because one's Japanese and one's Chinese? I don't really know. That would really throw me off. So let me know what that means down below. I'll have to look it up. Maybe I'll be able to flash it on the screen if I figure out why that is. That is so weird. So let me see. Did it start? So this says it's the first week of the year. So this is called week 52 of the year, and they're calling this the first week of the year. Interesting. So there's that information. Before I forget, I should mention that the Kinbor has 2 bookmarks. So does the Hobonichi Weeks, but if you watched my setup, you know that I ripped those guys out because I can't stand them. I do like these ones a little bit more because they seem heavier and they don't fray at the end. Like the Hobonichi Weeks, usually they're already frayed when they get to me. I don't know what that's about. So they're just not even worth my time. I can't tell you if these are the same width. They seem like they're thicker and not, I don't know. These are also not like the satiny fills, so they kind of stay when you put them down, whereas the ones in the Hobonichi weeks, they just fly everywhere. They just drive me insane. So you get two, just like in the Hobonichi weeks. I feel like Kinbor has a better quality, but the whole weekly situation is throwing me off. We need to have a discussion about that. Somebody in the comments, please educate me on that, because it's freaking me out a little bit. Okay, so I'm back on the same days, which is not technically the same week because it says the 12th week and this one says 13. I don't know. Anyway, let's go back to the comparison of the layout. So it is the same layout with a few differences. So I believe you get about one more. Sorry, I was talking away and I think I was blurred, so I hope that we're okay. So let's get back to talking about the layout, which is the same, however slightly different in a few ways. So here we have, I think, one more line over here on the Kinbor, which allows it to go down to the bottom, which I appreciate because I don't want this quote here. I don't know what this says up here in Chinese. Maybe this is a proverb. I have no, maybe it just says February or March, excuse me. In Chinese, I don't really know, but this is just too much space being taken up, and most of us either washi tape this or write over it. So I really like that this comes to the edge. It has the dots here. You can see one there and one there, just like here, to allow you to divide this page up in thirds. We have the same line going down the face over here as over here, except you get one more square over here than this, so it's skinnier on the Kinbor. You also have the month down here below, and I should have mentioned that on the monthly, maybe I didn't. So in these blank spaces, they're usually blank in the Hobonichi. Nobody ever texts me until I'm filming. Usually blank. So you see how these ones are blank over here? They go ahead and they give you the month before and the month after. If there's no space here, they put it down in the corner over here. So that might become a problem or an issue for some people who want to utilize that space in the corner. See, like right here. But again, normally this would be connected on any other month. So you don't get as much space down here, and it's not as consistent as you do in the Hobonichi weeks. And if you've ever planned on the monthly, then you understand what I'm saying. If you haven't, then that was not for you. Okay, so we can come back here. It looks like they have some writing in Japanese over here, maybe because this is a holiday, that's why it's in red, so that probably tells you what holiday it is. I don't think I ever saw any holidays actually written out in here. No, but they do mark them in red. But they do have these little icons. It's a water glass, an apple, a little guy or person running, and then toilet paper. So I talked about that before. I think that those are kind of cute. I don't think that they're necessary, especially since sometimes I like to choose what I put in this column. So I don't know that I particularly need the icons. But again, this is written in such a light font that you can just kind of write over it and not even pay any attention. Whereas, look at this. This is so dark. I wish they would at least make this lighter so that I can kind of see what I'm writing when I write over it. Whatever. These are both boxed off. As you can see, there's an edge all the way around. Also on this side. So that's very nice. We have the month over here in gray on both. This looks to be a little bit wider than over here. Guys, leave me alone. I'm filming. As you can see there, but that's nice. You can't see it on the side because these are gilded pages, but over here you can. Let's see if I can pull that up and show you. You can see the different months there. All right, so let's see how far we go in the back here with the weeklies. So they both end on the same week, and depending on who you ask, this says that the last week of the year is week 52 and this one says week 53. And I do know, I mean, I thought I knew that there was 53 weeks in this year. So I'm not sure who to believe anymore. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, yeah, so they end on actually the same week because the new year starts right here, and it falls within this last week. For the Kinbor, you go into a beautiful index that says pages, and there's a column here, and then title with its own column, and this one says date with its own column. And you get it on a spread, and this one just continues. I love this. I think it's really great. I feel like in the Hobonichi, you don't have enough space. So this, I think, just has abbreviations. I covered it with an old Hobonichi page. And then I have some vellum, and here is like their index, which I don't feel like is enough space. Because what if you make lists, individual lists in the back here, and you want a line per list? That's not really a lot. So most people just use the first spread to make a bigger index, or they cover this page and use an index over here, which is what I did last year. Thought I would do that again this year. But this is really nice. Like, I feel like I might not need to use a spread for an index with this one. So there is that. The pages at the bottom are numbered. I kind of like how in the Kinbor, they have this little gray box. Oh my gosh, stop it. Yes, they have this little gray box coloring it in. I think that's really cute. This one doesn't, but that's okay. It means that it's less intrusive. So there's that. We have 71 pages in the Hobonichi weeks and these back grid pages. And sometimes that varies depending on how many of these pages they want to use for these like information little guides in the back. Because I have a Hobonichi weeks that has 72 and one that has 73 in it. In the back of the Kinbor, you have 78 pages, I believe. Yes. And I will put on the screen the amount of little cells, I think is what they call them, but the little squares for the Hobonichi, because I didn't do it in here. But I did for the Kinbor since it's new. So there are 52 down and 24 across, and they look to be exactly the same square grid, which is about a 3.5 millimeter. I was measuring it with a stencil I had. That's what it said. So talking about the paper, in the Hobonichi weeks you have the Tomoe River paper, which is a cream colored paper. It's not that serious, but sometimes it can kind of look French vanilla-ish. Yeah, whereas over here in the Kinbor, you have these really nice clean white pages. The difference between the fill, they both feel pretty thin. I would say if I had to make a comparison to something that you might know, I would say this paper feels kind of like the Kokyo thin paper, where it's very much a matte paper. It doesn't have any sort of gloss at all or sheen to it whatsoever. Also, the pages in the back here do not have this annoying line that I'm not in love with down its face like the Hobonichi does. It's just a plain grid paper, which I really appreciate. They both are on a grid, which means you're always going to get 52 down and 24 across, and you can see that. This is a little bit more even. It looks like you get the same amount all the way around, whereas this one, not that it really matters, but it seems like they wanted to give you an extra line, so they push it up a little bit. So you might actually get more. Yeah, you see there, I think you're going to get more back here than you are here, whereas I believe the Hobonichi pages in the back have the same amount of grid down and across as on the left of the planner portion. That is not true in the Kinbor. They push this down a little bit to put whatever that says up there. So you're going to get more grid down here. So that's going to change a little bit on how you plan, or maybe you get more of a title or a header up there. Now in the back of the Hobonichi, there are all of these pages in Japanese. I don't know, because I'm never interested in finding out. I always cover them. But some of them are how-tos and funny little things, just information pages. And of course they have my 100 page, which is pretty cool. If you go to the Hobonichi website, you can print and download more of those if you needed to. In the back of the Kinbor, They also have some information pages. This says the 24 solar terms, and this says gourmet recommended. So, I mean, restaurants, I suppose. I don't know. And then there are some other pages, like we have the 100 here. You get schedule, and you have 8 to 2000 hours. Then you have annual target. You have 21-day plan. It goes backwards from 21 to 1. Then we have our favorites, and you get 2 of those. Then we have the social relationship. I don't know if that means social media or they mean like your friendship. I don't really know, but you have that, and it's gridded, so you can just cover that and make it whatever you want. This says encyclopedia, and then we have a map of China. So I figured, this is my Chinese map, that this was a Chinese planner. And I think I'd heard somebody else say that as well. It wasn't in the description because I went back to look, and I was like, how would I know? So therefore I feel like, yeah, it's a Chinese planner. And this is kind of cool. But you know, most of the stuff I like to cover up with my own stuff anyway. Now, I didn't do a pen test in the Hobonichi. Okay, sorry, I got cut off. And at the same time, I think my package is here. I bought a futon for part of my vision board. I wanted to do like a little reading nook in my living room, and I bought a futon for that, and I think it just got delivered. Anyway, so I didn't do a pen test. Sorry, that's what I was saying in here, because most people have seen that and know that about the Hobonichi weeks, but I wanted to try out some things here. I will try to see if I can find out what paper this is. I think somebody mentioned it in my last video, so if I find that, I will put that in the comments or flash it on the screen. So the friction pen worked really well on here. I'm always concerned on how friction is going to erase, but it did well. Tombow did well. You can't really see any of that. I used the Kaweco pen, fountain pen, just because that's the only one I have. And I know some people are fountain pen lovers. I can zoom in just a smidgen for you guys, because you're probably like, what am I looking at? I did write weird here because I felt like the Sharpie pen, that's the, what's it called? The felt tip pen, acted a little weird. It acted like it was writing over something, and yeah, it was really weird. So I don't know, but that was the only one I had an issue with. I used the Sarasa Dry on here, which worked really nicely. So if you're a fan of gel pens, I would say the Kinbor is something you should try out once we figure out what the hell's going on with that weekly thing, because I don't understand. Anyway, play color dots, because some people like to make lists with that. You can see it right there. It ghosted. It didn't really bleed through, and that's the same in the Hobonichi. Yeah, so everything worked very nicely, other than that Sharpie pen, which was kind of wonky. Here is the high-tech C in a 0.4, and I have a hell of a time with this pen in the Hobonichi weeks. It smears like crazy. This was after 4 seconds. Nothing happened, and I was happy. I don't know if I did this pen. Did I? Anyway, this is the Papermate. So, Papermate, what is it called? The Inkjoy. Yes, I know that. And this is in a 0.5. I'm writing sloppy because I'm writing around this thing. Anyway, 1, 2, counting. You can see there, bam. Doesn't smear. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm loving this for my gel pens, because I really do love my gel pens. So I am grateful for this paper. And like I mentioned, it reminds me a lot of the Kokio thin paper. So if you didn't want to, so if you've never had a Jibun Tacho Days, because that's the Kokio thin paper, you can buy the Kokio idea notebooks separately and try out that paper. And I swear it's pretty similar, I have to say. Okay, so there was a lot to go over. I think I remembered everything. If not, I'm probably flashing things on the screen already or putting them down in the comments below. So let me know if you have a Kinbor, how you like it. If you've ever had both of them, tell me how they compare for you. Are you thinking about trying out a Kinbor because the paper is different, and you love your gel pens. What is going on with those weeklies being different? Let me know down below. All right, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.